lady?
As the sun sets on Los Angeles, a city gripped by an unprecedented crime wave, we're introduced to Paul Kersey, a man with a past as complex as the urban landscape he now calls home. The air is thick with tension as Paul bids farewell to Rosario, his trusted housekeeper, before embarking on what should be a routine outing with his girlfriend, Jerry Nichols, a fearless news reporter with a nose for trouble. Their destination? A mental institution where Carol, a living reminder of Paul's tumultuous history, resides. The trio's stroll through town seems almost idyllic until Paul's quest for ice cream takes an unexpected turn. As he passes a group of menacing thugs, their predatory gazes lock onto him, setting in motion a chain of events that will shatter the fragile peace he's built. In a heart-pounding chase, Paul pursues the pickpockets, cornering one named Jiver in a dingy alley. The confrontation crackles with tension, but Paul's quick reflexes and combat skills prove superior. Surprisingly, he shows mercy, releasing Jiver after learning he doesn't have the wallet. Unbeknownst to Paul, this act of kindness will have dire consequences. As Paul rejoins Jerry and Carol for a seaside walk, the real danger is unfolding back at his home. The gang, armed with Paul's address from his stolen ID, descends upon the unsuspecting Rosario. What begins as a clever ruse, a fake delivery, quickly escalates into a horrifying home invasion. The air fills with Rosario's muffled screams as the thugs, seeing an opportunity for further violence, prepare to commit an unspeakable act. With Jerry departing for a high-profile interview, Paul remains oblivious to the terror unfolding in his own home. As he and Carol return home, only to be ambushed by the very thugs who set this tragedy in motion. In a brutal twist of fate, Paul is rendered helpless, his world fading to black as the crowbar connects. Rosario's desperate attempt to summon help ends in a shocking act of violence, her life extinguished in a heartbeat. Carol, innocent and vulnerable, becomes a pawn in a sinister game as the criminals whisk her away to their lair. The hideout buzzes with dark energy as the men debate her fate, their callous words revealing the depths of their depravity. In a moment of unthinkable cruelty, Carol's innocence is shattered, her trauma compounded by a desperate escape attempt that ends in tragedy. Meanwhile, Paul's world continues to crumble. The discovery of Rosario's lifeless form sets off a chain of grief and horror that only intensifies as the full scope of the tragedy unfolds. Inspector Manowitz, a figure of authority tinged with empathy, tries to piece together the puzzle, all too aware of Paul's haunted past. The morgue scene is a gut-wrenching crescendo of loss as Paul confronts the ultimate nightmare, the death of his beloved Carol. The funeral that follows is a somber affair, each shovelful of earth sealing away not just Carol's body, but Paul's last connection to family life. As Paul stands at the precipice of overwhelming grief, one can't help but wonder, will he succumb to despair, or will this tragedy ignite a fire within him? With his boss urging time off, and Paul insisting on a swift return, the stage is set for a potentially explosive next chapter. What path will Paul choose in the face of such devastating loss, and how will it shape the city that has become both his home and the scene of his greatest heartbreak? After enduring unimaginable loss, Paul retreats to nature's embrace, finding solace in the rhythmic swing of an axe against wood. The forest becomes his sanctuary, a place where grief and rage intertwine with each stroke. Weeks pass, and Paul emerges, a changed man returning to a world that no longer feels like home. Back in the city's bustling heart, Paul immerses himself in work, designing structures that reach for the sky while his own world has crumbled. A chance encounter with Jerry serves as a bittersweet reminder of the life he once had, her invitation to reconnect hanging in the air like a fragile thread. But beneath the veneer of normalcy, a storm is brewing. Paul's evasion of the police's attempts to gather information hints at a man with a plan, one that doesn't involve the traditional path of justice. Under cover of night, he transforms, donning dark clothes and arming himself with purpose and steel. The inner city becomes Paul's hunting ground, its seedy motels and shadowy alleys his new domain. Taking on the alias Mr. Kimble, he stalks the streets, his keen eyes searching for the faces that haunt his nightmares. Jerry's unexpected appearance the next morning serves as a jarring reminder of the double life he now leads, forcing him to improvise and reinforce his fortress of solitude. As darkness falls again, fate intervenes. Paul spots Stomper, one of the thugs responsible for his torment, and the hunt begins in earnest. In an abandoned building teeming with vermin, both literal and figurative, Paul becomes judge, jury, and executioner. The cold efficiency with which he dispatches his targets speaks volumes about the transformation he's undergone. Returning to his alter ego's lair, Paul carefully conceals the evidence of his grim work. A phone call from Jerry pulls him back to the facade of normalcy, her voice a lifeline to a world he's rapidly leaving behind. As they make plans for a date, one can't help but wonder, how long can Paul maintain this precarious balance between vengeance and everyday life? And what will be the cost of his relentless pursuit of justice? The city's underbelly pulsates with tension as Paul, now a shadow among shadows, embarks on another night of retribution. His transformation from grieving father to urban predator is complete, his movements purposeful and deadly. Fate intervenes once more, drawing Paul into a subterranean drama unfolding in a dimly lit parking garage. The screams of a terrorized couple pierce the night, galvanizing Paul into action. With cold precision, he dispatches two thugs before they can fully comprehend the danger that has descended upon them. In the chaos that ensues, Paul finds himself face to face with Jiver, a ghost from his recent past. The air crackles with tension as Jiver, desperate and cornered, uses an innocent as a human shield. But Paul's resolve is unshakable, his aim true even as Jiver flees into the night. The hunt continues through the decaying bones of an abandoned building, a deadly game of cat and mouse. Jiver's cunning is no match for Paul's determination, and the confrontation reaches its brutal climax amidst the rusting hulks of forgotten machinery. As the last echoes of gunfire fade, Paul slips away, a wraith in the night, leaving behind a tableau of justice served cold. Meanwhile, Inspector Manowitz finds himself caught in a web of frustration and suspicion. The couple's refusal to identify their savior adds another layer of complexity to an already baffling case. As he orders the uncooperative husband detained, one can't help but wonder, is this an act of gratitude towards their mysterious protector, or something more? As the sun sets on Los Angeles, the city becomes a chessboard of intrigue and suspicion. Inspector Manowitz, frustrated by the couple's silence, finds himself grappling with the possibility of a vigilante stalking the streets. His meeting with the police commissioner sets in motion a chain of events that reaches all the way back to New York, unearthing ghosts from Paul's past. Enter Detective Ua, a man haunted by his own secrets and determined to protect his career. His arrival in LA adds a new layer of tension to the unfolding drama. Like a bloodhound on the scent, Ua methodically pieces together Paul's tragic recent history, his instincts telling him that the past is repeating itself in bloody fashion. Jerry, caught in the crossfire of suspicion and loyalty, becomes an unwitting pawn in this dangerous game. Ua's revelations about Paul's vigilante history in New York plant seeds of doubt in her mind, setting the stage for a confrontation fraught with emotion and deception. Paul, ever the master of reinvention, weaves a tapestry of lies with the skill of a seasoned storyteller. His ability to manipulate Jerry's trust speaks volumes about the depths of his transformation. The kiss that seals his deception is both tender and chilling, a reminder of the man he once was and the avenger he has become. As Paul embarks on another night of retribution, the stakes rise exponentially. Ua's relentless pursuit adds a new layer of danger to Paul's mission. Unaware of the detective shadowing his every move, Paul zeroes in on his next targets, Cutter and his cronies, their faces etched in his memory from that fateful night. The park becomes an unlikely arena for this deadly game of cat and mouse. As Paul watches the oblivious thugs, one can't help but wonder, will this be the night that Paul's two worlds collide? With Ua closing in and his targets in sight, how will Paul navigate this precarious situation? The city holds its breath, waiting for the inevitable clash between justice, vengeance, and the ghosts of the past. Bus becomes an unlikely stage for this deadly drama, with Paul maintaining a facade of calm even as his targets harass an innocent passenger. Unbeknownst to him, Detective Ua's shadow looms ever closer, adding a layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. As night descends, the scene shifts to a clandestine arms deal, with Paul poised to strike. But fate intervenes in the form of a hidden sniper, and suddenly, the hunter becomes the hunted. In a twist of irony, it's Ua who saves Paul's life, revealing his true intentions in a moment of crisis. What follows is a symphony of chaos and gunfire. Ua's sacrifice adds a bittersweet note to Paul's victory, his dying words fueling the fires of vengeance. As sirens wail in the distance, Paul vanishes into the night, leaving behind a tableau of carnage and a mystery for Inspector Manowitz to unravel. The next day dawns with a city on edge, the name Charles Wilson on everyone's lips. Paul, ever resourceful, uses his connections to stay one step ahead of the law. His race against time to reach Charles before the police creates a palpable sense of urgency. The confrontation with Charles is a brutal reminder of the unpredictable nature of Paul's crusade. The drug-fueled escape and subsequent chaotic arrest in the streets paint a vivid picture of a city teetering on the brink of anarchy. As Paul tends to his wounds in solitude, the weight of recent events hangs heavy in the air. Jerry's return with news of Ua's death and Charles's capture adds another layer of complexity to Paul's double life. With their date looming, one can't help but wonder, how long can Paul maintain this precarious balance between vigilante and ordinary citizen? reason? Will Jerry's growing suspicions finally lead her to the truth? And with Charles in custody, what new challenges await Paul in his relentless pursuit of justice? The stage is set for a climactic confrontation, with the fate of the city hanging in the balance. As this urban drama hurtles towards its conclusion, the line between hero and villain blurs ever further, leaving us to ponder the true cost of vengeance. The final act of this urban tragedy unfolds with a masterful blend of suspense and irony. Paul's calculated infiltration of the mental hospital showcases his ever-evolving tactics, while his proposal to Jerry adds a bittersweet touch to his double life. The juxtaposition of planning a future with Jerry and meticulously plotting Charles's demise highlights the increasingly blurred lines between Paul's two worlds. The confrontation with Charles is a brutal, visceral affair that pushes Paul to his limits. The fight scene crackles with tension, each blow and stab a reminder of the high stakes at play. Charles's gruesome end by electrocution serves as a fitting metaphor for the shocking nature of Paul's vigilante justice. In a twist of fate, it's not the elaborate security measures but a perceptive orderly who nearly undoes Paul's carefully laid plans. This moment of human recognition adds a layer of complexity to Paul's actions, reminding us of the real-world consequences of his crusade. Jerry's discovery of Paul's deception marks a turning point in their relationship. The discarded engagement ring speaks volumes, a silent indictment of the lies that have corroded their bond. As Jerry walks away from the life she thought she knew, we're left to ponder the true cost of Paul's quest for vengeance. The epilogue, set months later, paints a picture of a man who has fully embraced his dark persona. Paul's glib response to questions about his evening activities is chilling in its casual deception. His return to the streets under cover of darkness suggests that his thirst for justice, or is it vengeance, remains unquenched. As the curtain falls on this gritty urban drama, we're left with more questions than answers. Has Paul's crusade brought him the peace he sought, or has it merely fueled an unending cycle of violence? What will become of Jerry, now burdened with the knowledge of Paul's true nature? And how long can Paul maintain this precarious balance before his two worlds inevitably collide? The city sleeps uneasily, unaware of the vigilante who stalks its streets by night. As Paul continues his relentless pursuit of what he deems justice, one can't help but wonder, in his quest to punish the wicked, has Paul himself become the very thing he set out to destroy?